Hello and welcome to our Volumes Media podcast. It speaks volumes. I am Domenico Di Siena, co-founder of Volumes, here to share with you our search for words of alternative economies in the making. Here at Volumes, a space of hybrid collaboration and creativity, we have been navigating for years the field of new ways of work, civic innovation and circular economy in Paris and Europe. And we saw it fast growing into a full-blown culture, but a culture that is still hard to understand, to define. With our guests, who also are inspiring people from our community, creators and innovators, friends or complete strangers, we are trying to share this culture, this search. They accepted to share with us their journey, their thoughts, their passion, but also their struggles, to define and maintain their action in a lot of different fields of economy, academia, culture, activism, etc. So an action that speaks volumes to the change of our society. And with this, for our cycle, this time dedicated to what is a hub. So we wanted to go back to where it all began, a concept that wasn't really a concept, but a mean to an end for us, the hubs. Volume didn't start as a hub, but it turned out to be one. Now, hybrid places can be called hubs, in French, tiers-lieux. So we wondered, what is a hub? So today, I have invited Julia Varela, social innovator, for our third episode on this topic. So, hello, Julia.
Hello, Dome. How are you?
Fine. Thanks for accepting the invitation. So let's start right away. So I'm really curious if you can share with us the story of how we met.
Yes, of course. Well, we personally met, Dome. More than met, I knew about you since a long time because we've got very close friends in common, very related to architecture and to positive impact, and people very related to creating community impact positively in the communities, into urbanism, and well, people very worried to matters of society and created what we call like the tissue of the society in a city. And this is people from the collective Zuloark, also people related to the collective Basurama. We've got these very close friends in common, Juan Lopez Aranguren and Manuel Pascual and the rest of Zuloark. So I heard of Domenico Di Siena since a long time, and little by little we were more related to our interests and also our professions, and more closely we met. I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago, like more intensively. I mean, because my partner Manuel Pascual from Fuloarc and myself, we created a company. It's a small company. We're called Ultra Azul, and I will tell you later. But we are working with a French foundation, philanthropical foundation called Fundación Daniel y Nina Carasso, based in Paris and in Madrid. And one of the objectives is to create a physical space in Madrid, also very related to food and social innovation. And we needed to talk to you because of volume. We saw this project and we were amazed by the power of this project, physically and not physically. And that was why we had this meeting, I think it was 4 or 3 years ago, in which you were very generous with your time and told us about what you were creating there in Paris. And I think this is pretty much the bond.
Okay, so yeah, I remember those those moments. So now tell me, where are you now precisely?
I am now based in Madrid, physically here. a little bit bored in Madrid. We were talking about this before, but happy also because we are working in this project based in Madrid, and there is a part in which I really need to be here because we are in this moment of definition of the project, and we really need to, create this lab here to understand really what about the mapping of the territory of the place in which we are working. We are working in a neighborhood called Arganzuela. For the people that are listening to us or will be listening to us, is a very core neighborhood in Madrid, in the center, not super center, but inside the ring of what is considered center, and it has a very nice tradition of working class tradition, now hipsterizing, but very interesting. And we are also understanding what's happening there because cities are changing a lot, especially European cities. Well, I guess all of the cities in the world, I know better the European ones. And I am based here and always with my glasses on for understanding what's happening in the territory.
So would you tell a little bit more about your project there in Madrid?
Yes. So this amazing foundation, Fundación Daniel y Nina Carasso, or Daniel y Nina Carasso Foundation, they are French, based in Paris. And I think like since 11 or 12 years, they created this foundation with the aim of giving money. They are a philanthropic, and I don't know the word in English, like mecenazgo, giving money, philanthropic project to empowering projects related to food, like sustainable food, and arts in general, very related to pedagogy, education, and transforming societies through art and food, and food in general. And they created the foundation in Paris. They have a physical space, which they are like their headquarters. It's a very nice space, but only for them, for the people working there. And they create these bonds with projects with capital seed at the beginning. Then they also understand the power of the project. So they accompany and they follow these projects for more than 3 years. And they are very into impact investment. They really want to transform societies through also investing in projects. They are not partners of the projects. They mainly sustain the projects. And they are also very driven to the climate crisis. So they are very also driven to the 17th SDG, like the creating bonds and alliances. I don't know how it's the exact name of this SDG in English, but it's related to alliances. And since more or less 7 years, they decided to create like another headquarters in Spain, in Madrid. They are very like emotionally related to Spain because of the story of their family, of the Carasso family. So they created this small headquarters in Madrid 5, 6, 7 years ago. I am not very good with the years, but more or less. And after the pandemic, the years for me are like flying there. So it could be 7 years. And they are based in Madrid, but they work in the whole Spain, in the whole country, with the same objectives, like these strategic lines, working for food and working for arts, or education in arts, for transforming society, and also very driven to impact investment. And like 4 years ago, they designed like a contest, like a project in which they wanted to create also to buy a space in Madrid. It was also a way of demonstrating their patronato. I don't know, like they board, that it was great not to have their money in stock options rather than in a physical space, and to also demonstrate that the project impact investment could be sustainable, buying a physical space that could hold many projects, many initiatives, and it could be also a kind of a hub. Why not? Let's call it a hub in which the philanthropic sector in Madrid, Spain could be based. Not so, maybe it's not so ambitious, but a place that could be a reference for the philanthropic sector, and also a place for organizations that are really willing to transform society related to these lines of arts and education and food, but also social economy. I don't know if this is the correct word in English, no? The solidary economy and society. Maybe the words are different, but they wanted to be a hub. They want to be a hub. They did this marvelous process in which they did this contest, and I got together with my partner from Zuloarc, Manuel Pascual, and a couple of architect studios, Usos and Eli, and we prepared a great like a proposal. And to make long story short, we won. So we have been working with this foundation, with Daniel y Nina Carasso, for back then 2 years. So we could create this feasibility studio, so we could demonstrate the board that we could create this project. Buying a building in Madrid was an interesting investment, and it was a kind of it's a sure business here, because they really need to demonstrate to their board that the money could be invested in a very smart way, but also being sustainable. So we could demonstrate that the business model, or the sustainable model, it's sustainable, it's feasible itself. How have we been created this project? We designed like a business model, or we prefer to call it sustainable model. Of course, we want to be sustainable, and there is a business behind, but there is a business in transforming the world, into creating positive impact. We're not only willing to earn money, and we want to earn money, of course, to be sustainable, but we prefer to call it sustainable projects. No?
Sorry, Julia. So basically, you're saying that when you say sustainable, so the place, this hub, if we can call it a hub, has in your proposal also economical model that not only promotes new projects, but when it starts, has its own economic model, so that you don't need to receive more money. That's
exactly.
Okay.
We designed this model exactly as you were saying. So of course, with a couple of deadlines, we are projecting in the long term. No, if you buy yourself a building in Madrid, you need to be very smart with the moment in which it's profitable. Of course, it's not in the first year. If you want to buy a building here for selling it in 3 years, you are into the immobiliary speculation. That's exactly the opposite of what we are looking. So we wanted to buy this building in order to keep it, of course. So to keep it in a long term. But the business model, or the sustainable model, is created like in periods of 5 years, more or less. The first 5 years, you are not still fully profitable, of course. So we need the funds of the foundation, of their own funds. But the thing is created for, let's say, 4 big business lines. We would be a co-working or a hub. We need people working there because, as you know, Dome, it creates contents, it bonds a community. We want to really create the feeling of belonging. We want people really empowered with the space, feeling the space is their space, and there is also a way of transforming from the space. We know we are now in the pandemic very delocalized, and people want to be in other places, and the foundation is very into this because they sustain projects in Malaga, in the north of Spain, in many places. But it needs to be a place in which we meet. We Mediterranean are very, physical, and we want these places to be offered. It's also a place for events, not only for renting spaces for third parts, okay, for developing, I don't know, TEDx conference, I don't know, the presentation of a magazine, something related to positive impact, etc. But it's also very related to art and food. This is the third line we are developing, which is food, kitchens, kitchen labs, food innovation, education in food, transforming also the agronomy, the ecology, departing from food. And the fourth line, it's their own foundation. It's going to be their headquarters, and they want to be there, like based, and they want to transform the philanthropic, context and sector, creating this hub of philanthropic spaces, which at least in Spain does not exist. There is a very close bond of foundation of foundations, the association of foundations, but they are very spread in the territory. So we really wanted not to be centralized, but to create a place in which could be a reference for these spaces. So, yeah, sorry, Dome.
No, the space is already there.
Yeah, we bought it. Well, they bought it. I
Yes.
use this third person because I really feel part of this project. The money is from the foundation, and the space is already there. It's in Calle Juana Doña, as I was saying before, in the Arganzuela district, which is very nice and very charismatic. And it's 3,000 square meters, super nice. We could say it's like a body of a building of offices, like old school, 5 floors, and then we've got 2 very big. How can you say naves in English? Like
hangars.
Yeah, like hangars, one on top of the other, and it's almost 1,000 square meters each. So it's amazing. We can create all of these architectural ideas we've got. We want a square, like an open square for people meeting there. We want these kitchens for innovation in food. We want the typical cafeteria or restaurant, and we're still researching in how can we create this special place for transforming education into food. These very big spaces such an auditorium, meeting rooms, places for work like single desks or big desk. It's very important, Dome, that the project is created B2B or O2O. This is business to business and organizations to organizations. We are not creating the project for single individuals, although we are going to be super permeable, super open. But in this sense, we are not like the classical co-working space. We want to be considered like a real hub for organizations. Of course, organizations are done by people, of course.
No, of course, no. I like it. And what is the status now of the development of this project?
Yeah, so the idea, because the architectural part is very difficult and very nice. I forgot to tell you about this. We are going to be a CO2 zero consumption building, or aiming to be. We're going to really fight for all of the certificates, BEAM, LEEM, etc. So we are going to be like a real example for the ecological development of the building. We are working with geothermia. I don't know if this is the exact word in English, but there's not going to be gas in the building, and the architects are amazing in this like circularity of the building. It's going to be super green. So I am not an architect, as you can see, so I'm going to speak very roughly, but the connection between plants, the circulation of the air, all of this is going to be amazing and an example. So this introduction is to tell you that we are very, very slow. This is a slow project. We need all of the permissions and the permits in the municipality. You know this, and in Madrid at least it's slow. But we need a special plan for developing this, because we are going to have also people sleeping there, 2 residences. So it's going to be restaurant, place of working, residence, food. So we need this special plan, and we are expecting to open the doors by January 2024. Expecting. So we are really prepared to do it. The project is done, but the institutional part from the municipality is going to be slow. Although I have to say that we have all of the doors open there. They are treating us in an amazing way, because we went to the municipality to tell them, please, we do not want help. At least we do not want problems.
Problems, yes.
Yeah, no help, no special treatment, please, no problems at all. So during the 2023, it's full work in architecture project. So they are going to be working in the demolition, reconstruction, designing, etc. And 2022, which is this present year, we are working, in my opinion, in an exemplar way and in an amazing way, because architects and designers of business model, context, relationship with the community, alliances, identity, naming, the whole project, we are working together. So the architects are not far away with the contents and the user experience, and vice versa. Okay.
But by the way, so you are talking now a lot about this architectural part that is not really important, and you also mentioned that the place will be open in 2 years.
Yeah.
So what do you do as a social innovator in this project?
Yeah.
So meanwhile, during these 2 years, what will be happening?
What we are doing, yeah. So we are working like in 11 big lines. One big line, which for me is one of my biggest learnings in my life as a social innovator in hubs, is the coordination. Like really understanding who wants to live there, the UX, the user experience, the life of people that are going to really inhabit these spaces, and also the container, the architecture. Really understanding that there shouldn't be never a mix match in who is designing the space and who is going to live the space. So coordination is essential. When in my past life in Impact Hub Madrid, we really need to seduce the architects with the way of living inside. Sometimes architects, which are amazing and essential, but are very aesthetical, like the nice place, etc. But it needs to be lived by people. People don't want to have bad illumination, silence, the acoustics, the way in you leave the space, how you go to the kitchen, how you create this bonding, how you chat with people. It's very important to have these polyvalent spaces in which nothing is defined, in which the inhabitants decide their own way of living. It's not only a matter of a table with internet, which of course it's there in the Maslow pyramid, of course, but it's also a place in which we need to define this, not predefined spaces. So coordination with project, people, community, inhabitants, architects, for me, it's I would say it's the basis of being a social innovator, no? Really understanding society. It has a part of psychology, a part of anthropology, ethnography, really understanding who are you working for, who you want to provide a service for, or at least a place, no? We are also working for the community. The community is going to be the people that's living there and paying for a service. This is companies, organizations, social economy, philanthropics, foundations, etc. We really need to understand their profiles, their needs, and we are doing many design thinking process with these people, no, understanding their needs.
Sorry to interrupt you, Julia.
No,
I think
no,
this
please.
part is really interesting. Because also I remember when we started in Paris, so this is essential. We repeat a lot that to open a space like this and hub, you need to create the community, and you described really well. The community is really also clients. So this is interesting because it's not just someone that like the project or will use sometime the project. They will be paying for this. So getting them on board before the place is open is really, really important job. And I remember that for us was quite difficult to explain what was the place for, and the benefits of the space. So I guess now with this kind of space you are working on is the same case. So how you deal with this?
Exactly.
They understand what it is.
Yeah, exactly. We're working in many different lines, of course. Let's say like the foundations or the philanthropic sector is very into this because it's a real need for them. They really want a space that it's considered a place for transforming societies from their part, no, from the philanthropic and foundational. So this need has been mostly created by them, not us as a space trying to find them. We are defining a very wide strategy with them, and we are working and meeting nearly every two months. So receiving their feedback, exploring processes, looking at other places. We are always like with the glasses of the researcher. We are looking at projects in the US, in Europe, in South America, in Africa, in Asia, trying to understand how to create this bonding and also to listen to their needs. And as you said, these people are also paying. So they are going to be social transformators and innovators, but also clients. And this is very important. We are not a public space. We do not want to be a public space, and we need to demonstrate to the board that this project is sustainable. So we are also finding this balance in between who is paying for what and what can we do with people with more money, because it's also a way of contributing in the wheel of the social change. So we are also talking a lot with donors, people that not only foundations that want to work there, maybe people that want to be donators, not to us foundation in the project, but to inhabitants or participants or people that can be living there. There is also a part we are really investigating and researching, which is, can we scholarship people? This is can we give this capital seat to people that will be working there, and we are interested in these profiles. It's through capital money, it's through donors, it's because people that organizations that work in the space can pay a little bit more in order to pay a seat for, I don't know, people working in food and can transform but do not have money for paying for a space.
Yeah.
We are in this process, like trying to find this balance in the business model.
This is interesting, Julia. I don't know if you are familiar with the concept of startup studio. I
Yeah.
don't know if you. So I think you are working also on this.
Exactly. Pretty much, this is one of the lines we are working in, like the startup studio, the
Amazing.
Small incubation. We do not want to be very ambitious. We are a very big place and very nice, but it's 3,000 square meters. We are talking about more or less 300 people living there and working there. But a very important thing, Dome, is how can we create bonds outside the space too? We want to have people working there and like a think tank and people bonding and joining. As I said before, we are Mediterranean and we like to be together. But a very important instruction from the people working in the foundation is we need to be an inclusive place. Many of our projects, the projects we pay for and we try to sustain, are in Malaga, are in Valencia, are in the north of Spain, are people, and they need to be there because we are talking about food and it's people, these agricultural people, and we need to work with these people. So we need to find these bonds and to find also the way of working offline. That was also one of the points of choosing Arganzuela it's because it's very close to Atocha, which is one of the main train station lines. Spain is kind of small and very well connected. So you mainly can be in Madrid in 2, 3, 4 hours. Depends of course who you compare with, but it's kind of well connected. Of course, it's very centralized. Spain is very centralized, like Madrid, and this is something we would like to hack. We are there. Madrid is very important since a long time, since the creation of the capital and well, the story of our life here. But we really need to hack this. We need to read the people that are in other places. We don't want to be centralized in this sense. Sorry, because I talk too much, Dome, but the answer of how are we working, we are designing these social processes for listening to many people in many moments and in different moments. And also understanding the neighborhood. You said this before. I don't know if it was offline or online, but we do not want to be the big foundation coming like an ovni and landing in a territory which is very humble in the not in the money, I mean in the way in which they create community. They are small profile, they want to be small profile. There is a great connection of organizations working with schools. It's called the Revuelta Escolar. This is the schools that are raising their voices for making the community and the government understand the schools are there. They want protected spaces. They want green mobility. And we want to be like an agent there in a humble way, listening to these needs. We do not want to create competitors for other spaces. They are growing a lot of co-working spaces there, and we want to listen to their needs. We do not want to be a competitor for them. So we need to be very smart in the communication. We are a B2B.
Yeah, by the way, I'm curious, which word do you use to describe yourself? Just an example. For instance, we at Volume, when we started, we needed to use the word co-working, just to let people understand at least what we were doing. Of course, it's not a co-working, as I did at the beginning. Even we didn't know exactly how to define the place. Now we use this concept that creative and productive hub, but it wasn't clear to us. So what word you use, even in Spain? I'm curious. What's the word you use to describe
that's a super good question. This is a super good question, and we are very into it. We are working very hard in this aspect. So one of the things we are developing in this present year, in 2022, before we open, is precisely communication, Dome. So this is one of our main points, because you need to communicate to people to understand what this place is going to receive. And of course, we need to use the word co-working, but we are not a co-working or not a normal co-working, not using the word normal in a bad sense, but we are a co-working for business. Like it's going to be very, very exceptional that we accept a single person. Okay.
Yes.
So we need to choose these words: lab, transformational project. We're still defining this because semantics are essential, as you say. But on the other hand, if you want to look for a place in Google, for example, you need to find these labels, and these words. We are now working with an identity company called Nadie, and they are working with us in the naming and in the Nadie,
Great.
which is the one.
Nadie. I like it.
These are the words exactly, Dome. Co-working, not co-working. It's a food lab. It's a lab. It's an incubator. It's a startup project. So because we are not Silicon Valley, and we do not want to be Silicon Valley. We are not Impact Hub, Spaces, Utopicus, WeWork, Monday, but somehow for the imaginary of people, we are a co-working. Somehow. We are also a place for foundations, for offices. Of course, we are a place in which you can rent spaces for events. So this question, Dome, is not only very good, but it's also part of our heartache. We are there.
Yeah. No, this is interesting because, for instance, in France there is this concept that is called tiers-lieu. In English, tiers place is not exactly the same meaning, but it's quite useful. So basically, in France, there is even a huge interest from the government to push on this idea to have places that are, this in between several things, no? So we find this really useful. So I usually ask this question also because I think that in other places, I'm now in Italy, it's difficult to define and to get people on board on something that has not yet a definition, which is also the magic, no? The passion I think we find in this kind of project, because we are some way shaping the place. The communication you said is really important.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with every single word you said, because I don't know if it's also a matter of us being Latin, but you need a definition. We're at least in Spain, you are very related to the space and to the territory. You need to understand if it's virtual or not virtual. Is it a space or not? Can I go there or not? Now we had this beautiful session with the identity team, and the names they were suggesting, which are amazing. And my contribution was, they are amazing, but I am missing a container, because then people call it somehow. But is it la casa? Is it the house? Is it the taller, the warehouse, the space? We need something to make people understand this is not a project. It's a space. It's a space in which you can be and touch and compare and sit in a chair. It's not a museum. So we are in this moment, and it's not public. It's not a media lab. It's not. So we're in this part, and we do not want to be posh. When you use words that are very ambitious, because what are we? Yeah, we are a place for social transformation. That's it. But if you think it, if you read it in a paper, social transformation, wow, maybe it's too ambitious, no, or too, wow. These people think they are, they can transform society. No, the foundation is super humble. They want to be very low profile. So we are in this moment of definition of this.
I like this a lot. I mean, I am curious that how much is also related with the experience we have with the pandemic, because I think the places, I'm convinced that will have more and more. They matter more and more, but basically, I think people to move, to go to a place, they need more than an excuse, not than one excuse. So it's important to understand why I'm going there. So I really liked when also you explain how you are creating a network that is going beyond Madrid. This is amazing. I think I'm really, happy to hear this, and you're doing a really amazing job, because sometimes this is not easy to explain, maybe to the client, let's say, for your client, no, the foundation. So understanding that actually you are spreading the place around the Spain, but at the same time you catalyze all of this in one place. This is amazing.
This is amazing, and a challenge itself.
A challenge, yeah, of course. I don't know if you dare for a definition.
Wow, of the place?
Yeah, for let's say generically. So, what is an hub? A productive and creative hub? Do you dare with a definition?
Maybe if I could do it like in my professional background, not only for this space, You know,
Yes.
I didn't tell this, but I've been part of the Impact Hub network since a long time. I was a co-founder in Madrid. For me, this is a good question. And now I am studying a master's in linguistics, so I am very into words.
To
I
be
would say,
precise.
this is of course my bias, which is very Mediterranean and very related to people and to touching. So for me, a hub for positive social impact is very related to people together, connections, generosity, sharing, because if you do not share and get together and you think that your projects are only yours, you could never leverage them, never understand society. So for me, let's say it's getting people together, it's collaboration, it's generosity and sharing. It's also about being in the space, and it's also about pushing yourself to other limits, no, to not thinking that what you are thinking is correct, but always testing and prototyping so you can really leverage. So for me, a hub is it's a place of generosity, sharing, collaborating, and talking a lot, talking and sharing. I am a very
So
talkative person.
no, as you mentioned, we didn't talk about your previous experiences. So I'm wondering how did you decide to start this experience with Impact Hub in Madrid?
Well,
What
this is a
brought
very
you
good
there?
question. I was very fortunate because I can answer easily. I didn't decide it.
People
I
decide for you.
yeah. So I am very thankful to this because I was living in Buenos Aires. I was working in the Spanish embassy with a cooperation agency there, like Agencia Española de Cooperación Internacional, and I was working in the embassy for the promotion of culture, always very related also to collaboration, etc. And well, somehow it's also social innovation, of course, culture.
Yes.
And I came back to Madrid in a very lost moment. Like I didn't want to be any longer in Buenos Aires because of my personal life. Like I didn't want to stay there, but I was super happy with the work. So I came back to Madrid a little bit like, oh my God, what can I do now? And a very close friend of mine, it's somehow like a fairy tale for me, like a fairy, which is Antonella Propia, also a social innovator, a very pioneer woman. She told me they are opening a space that suits you, and it was called then Hub Madrid before we introduced the word impact, and it was just opening. So I went there like, hi. And I talked to one of the founders, Max Oliva, a person to who I owe a lot. And he said, we are creating this project. He explained me the project as we were doing now, like it's a co-working. I've never heard about the word co-working, although it's old as water, like getting people together. My background was very related to activism, like to squatters, places in which people got together, people in which we do like a political militants. So it was a way in which we could transform many of our collaborative processes and disciplines into a place for working and transforming, like creating positive impact. So I told Max, I mean, we didn't even have money to get paid. I think it was 800 euros with what I got at the beginning. But I said, yes, I want to be here. And yes, I want to contribute. I want to be a stakeholder. We called ourselves like patient stakeholders because we never had money. Never. But it was also a way of contributing to a system in which you really believed. And we were very small at the beginning. We talked to the municipality who didn't want to help us at the beginning, nothing at all, because we were saying like, could we have a space? Could we have a place? And they were saying like, no. So we found our own space, this hangar, this garage, which has been very emblematic in Madrid. And
Yes.
little by little, we create the community, we created the space. we struggled a lot at the beginning because we had to do events, many kinds of events, in order to be sustainable. And we had to keep the space for working and events. But this was how we created the Impact Hub Madrid. Then we expanded to 3 other places. And then there was this. I went to and I then went to work like a pause in my life, and I went to work to the municipality when the municipality was governed by the left wing with Manuela Carmena. So I left to work in culture, and then a new big company came and they bought us. This is another story, Dome.
Another story.
I sell my options, so I am not longer part of the Impact Hub as a company, but my heart is going to be always related to Impact Hub Madrid.
Yeah.
Always.
No, you remind me also a situation we had at Volume. So I told you in the offline session that we were concerned about the business model, and so we were at some moment forced to take important decisions. So from the beginning, we tried to be a cooperative, but it's interesting because after 2 years, we proposed to the members of our community that were the most engaged to be part of the cooperative, and I remember this meeting. So we were so happy to say finally we can do this proposal to them, and we were with a lot of expectation. So we did the proposals, and they said no, we are not interested. Okay. So yeah, please manage the place. We are really happy. You created something amazing. We contribute in other way, but we don't want to be part of a cooperative. So basically, we were saying, it's cool, but if we don't achieve what we want to achieve, also in the business model, the atmosphere you have here would be not the same if we will be forced to sell the company. So, and we were really stressed. So then we decided basically to solve the problem. We realized that we need to grow, and because we just one more person on the team, we will be able to manage the 3 times what we had as a square meters. And then hopefully I will tell this another time, the story. Then hopefully we merged and we create a new cooperative, and we avoid this situation that some then you are both. But this is for me is a good point, because it's true that it's also our question in the long term. So basically, how you create the community and the ambient that could last for long term is why I really like what you said at the beginning for this new project, that you have this 5 years cycle, really looking at long term. It's true that, of course, having a main stakeholder that has this vision is helping a lot, but it's not something that is easy to find.
Absolutely. I think that one of the biggest asset we have in this project is that we have, like, the foundation has dedicated a lot of funds. We are talking about 12 million euros for creating this project. So it's kind of in the good sense, it's kind of easy to create projects with such an amazing, economical background. But we're very strict with money because the foundation is an amazing foundation. It has a board behind. There's ministers in there, so the treatment of the money, we're seeking every single euro. So we really need to be ethically very related to the use of money. And this was one of our first red flags. If we buy a building in Madrid and we create this so ecological project in Madrid. We are pioneering a space with no, like, zero consumption, etc. It is going to be expensive at the beginning. And for making it feasible, we need time. We are not buying a building and selling it in 4 years. If you want to do this, don't buy it. That was our first red flag. So we buy this building because it's an impact investment, but we need to know that we can only sell it if things are terrible in 20 years. That's why we are buying in Madrid and not, in a difficult city, in a a war system, of course. But the thing is, in the other hand, we need to be very smart in the use of resources and the way in which we are generating this community. And we are creating, I think, a very smart business model or sustainable model in which we need to balance the number of events. We are being super strict. We know that the cycles of events and moments, and we are always creating a plan B. What happens if there's another pandemic? What happens if there's no gas? What happens? So we are always working in these challenges of course, if there's another terrible war or something, the place is going to be shut down, and maybe we need to create a hospital, or something like the use of the space can be also put in disponibility of the society. But now the business model has to work with very different vectors, and we cannot fail because we have a board behind. It's not only because we are in a capitalist system and money needs to work, but because we owe a respect to a board and to people that are going to. That's why we want foundations there that have money and they can pay for also contributing to a system in which they are sustaining this system.
What we are now reaching the final part. So what do you think are the benefits for the city? When these kind of places open, the city, the neighborhood. We talk also this really good connection also beyond the city. But now, I don't know if you want to share some thoughts about what do you think would be, the benefit for the city, the neighborhood.
Yeah. Well, in my opinion, it's going to be, or I hope it's a place for really like a speaker for philanthropy. At least in space, there is not a container for philanthropy, and we need to be there. We need to also do some lobby, like regarding government, etc. I was reading yesterday, like, let's call also the American rich oligarchs, no? Sometimes we use words for certain people. Let's use the word philanthropy in a good sense. It's amazing to have philanthropists and to make them get together so they can understand what are their needs of their work. Very different people, like there's Soros, there's Gates, there's the Melinda Foundation, there's also the Jane Goodall, there's tons of projects and organizations. So I want them to be like a speaker and a place for reference. I think we've got a challenge with children and transforming society. So we are not expecting to be a place for education. The children are not going to go there to study, but we have an obligation as a society for transforming the generations that are coming. And I think it's going to be through new words of working and getting together and sharing knowledge. And it's also, Dome, about food and health. The way in which we are eating, the way in which food comes to our plates, the way in which we are understanding healthy systems, food, sports, talking, getting together, understanding where the food comes from. Like, this part of investigation and innovation in food is going to be, for me, essential. And I think pretty much because the rest is not very pioneer. Getting together, sharing, it's Media Lab, it's Volume, it's Impact Hub, it's many projects. But I think the super asset of this project is philanthropy and food transformation. Food in the way of nutrition, health, slow food,
Yeah.
products.
No, I'm thinking that I mean, for people, usually is my guess, philanthropy is understood with something that is really far
Yeah,
from their everyday life. In the contrary, food is understood is something that is really close to everyday life, but actually we need an equilibrium, a re-equilibrium, no, with both, because basically food is something that we banalized lately, so we need to recover, no, this culture of understanding of the food
absolutely.
and how the food is central in our life, no? And in the other
Absolutely.
side, so with the philanthropy, we need to put this, no, more on the everyday life. So I really like also
Absolutely.
this movement.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Yeah. And I think it's a great combination.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. So amazing. So 1 hour flies away. So we are closing. So before we close, I'm really, wonder if you can give us recommendations. So, what inspires you, what you are reading, what you are watching.
Okay. Well, my inspirations lately, harsh question. I think they are not very related to what we were talking about. So I am, well, maybe yes, about health and having a nice life and being like calm. So I'm super inspired by sports always. I am a freak. I mean, always practicing sports. I think that makes my life better when I work in the morning, cut in the evening, do some yoga, go to the stadium to run or something. So it makes my brain works better and my soul. So always sports, watching sports, practicing sports. And I was saying it's not very related, but I think it is like healthy life, healthy brain, related also to good food. I am very into this. And then, as we were saying, also offline, my challenge is always traveling. I know there is also a bad situation with the emissions, but my inspirations are always like planning the next trip, and I am planning 2 trips. If I could make it by the end of the year, going to New Zealand, and maybe by the last quarter of this year, I want to go to the Kilimanjaro. Let's see if I can do it. And regarding my readings, Dome, I try to read 2 books at the same time always. So try to read novel and essays or something. As I was saying, I am now studying a master's in linguistics and I am very into feminism. So I discovered this linguistic called Suzanne Romain, and she's alive. She's a teacher in Oxford, I think, or Cambridge. Sorry, I'm dyslexic with Cambridge and Oxford since all the time. And she wrote this book called Communicating Gender, and I finally found it after 4 months. And then I am also reading a book of Elizabeth Duval. She's a Spanish writer and a critical, like political critical. She studied in Paris in La Sorbona, and this book is called Madrid Será, and it's very nice. I don't know if it's going to be translated to other languages, but
Interesting.
and I met her yesterday. I
Wow.
had the opportunity to meet her yesterday, and then I am starting to listen podcast. I've never been into podcast, but more and more. We created this podcast the last year also with Natasha and the people in Zuloac and many people. It's called On Collaboration, and we did an On Collaboration for the pandemic. So I am more and more into podcast and radio, and I am listening to this one in Spain called Deforme Semanal. These 2 amazing and super smart girls, Isa Calderon and Lucia Litt Myers, and they talk about many interesting things and very, very feminists. So there's always a critical. And that's it, pretty much what I do in my free time, which is very little.
So amazing, Julia. So I really enjoyed the conversation, really
Me too.
inspiring. So it's great conversation. So yeah, I hope we can reach soon again, so we can
Yeah.
maybe hear more about the updates.
Have me back, please. Thank you for your time, Dome, and the opportunity.
No, it's amazing. Thanks to you. I also take advantage to thank you, the team that is behind this podcast. I'm not alone. There are also Natasha and Yelena, so I take advantage to thank Natasha and Yelena, and so thank for this, the listener. So just remember, soon we will have a new session, and at the end we will have a compiled episode for our podcast, the Volume Podcast, with all the interview we are doing about the definition, the exploring of what is a hub. So thanks a lot. See you soon.
See you very soon, Dome. Thanks for you and the whole team, and see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.